Alrighty, we are officially live. At least it says we are. So we will see here in a second. This is my first live broadcast since being back from the long weekend, crazy weekend, by the way. Which wow, yeah, I'll tell you guys a little bit about that here in a minute once I establish if I am actually live and broadcasting. But yeah, we had a great weekend, crazy weekend, and an interesting weekend. And I say weekend, it was let's see, we took off on Friday morning and ended up getting back here. What was it? Monday night. Yes. So it was a long weekend, but man, what a crazy weekend. But today, what are we going to talk about today? Well, what we're going to talk about is some good news that I found on or that I was aware of when I got back, and I opened up my laptop and started looking at some traffic numbers, and I got kind of excited because one of the sites that we've been building pretty actively now for about the last 6 months, and I say that because we actually built the site about going on probably 2 years ago, but we let it sit. So we built it, we put like 12, 13 articles on it, pieces of content, and then we let it sit. Not necessarily because we thought we were ever going to do something with it. We were using it as an example site. And then we decided to check the numbers one day, and the numbers were up, and we said, you know what, maybe we should start working on this because we're starting to see some traffic. And then we went really aggressive with some content, and now we're starting to see the rewards, and we're getting close to turning on monetization. So pretty exciting stuff. Actually a 97% increase in traffic from the last 30 days, which is insane. So that's what I'm going to be sharing. I've got some screenshots I'm going to be sharing with you, but if you guys can hear and see me, can you guys drop it in the comments? I see that there are people actually, in fact, live, but I don't have any comments, and I just want to make sure that we are, in fact, live before I go ahead and officially kick this thing off. I want to check my audio, and then we'll go from there. And Salam says, hello. I got another, we can hear you. That's good. You are good to go. Let's see. Sail Dog, loud and clear. Awesome. All right, cool. Good. All right. Yeah, because the audio is the thing I'm always concerned about. 97% is incredible. It is incredible. It's exciting. And the crazy thing is I've actually seen an increase on all of our traffic, which is amazing. And actually this morning, something I wasn't going to really share here, but I will because we're kind of chit-chatting. I noticed that on one of our sites that is being monetized through Mediavine, the RPMs, the ad money is starting to go back up, which normally January is a bad month for advertisers. And we talked about this before because they're readjusting their budgets and all of that stuff. But we actually had a $30 RPM per thousand, which is kind of unheard of at this time of year. And then the other one was, I think, just, $20, $21, which is still pretty good for this time of year. Normally it drops right down to, $10 or less sometimes until they reconfigure their budgets. So usually January is kind of like one of those off months or those down months. So with that all being said, now that I know that we are live and we have some people here watching live, if you guys do have any questions through this, let me know. We will be back here on Friday. The other thing is any topics that you would like me to discuss or questions that you would like me to answer in depth on a Friday jam session, drop them in the comments below. And then that way there we can potentially answer those. I always love a good question or something to dig our teeth into and discuss on our jam sessions. And that's on Fridays. So if you can do that, that would be awesome. Oh, and one last thing. If you are watching this and maybe it's on a replay, maybe it's live, and you're not yet on my email list where I send out about 3 emails a week with some tips and some advice and what we're working on and all of that stuff, make sure that you head on over to takeactioncrew.com. Again, that's takeactioncrew.com, and you can jump on that list. It's the only way to get on the list at this point. So if you're interested, do that. All right. So we are going to talk about this 97% increase in traffic. But before I do, let me just share my quick little story here on our weekend. So, and why you have to sometimes just roll with it. You have to roll with the tide. Okay, so we head out on Friday early morning around 8:30. We're going to make a 9-hour trip to Florida, Clearwater, Florida. On the way, I was going to drop my father off, who was here visiting. We had a gender reveal for my oldest daughter. It is a girl. Yippee. So, yes, we have a girl that is coming very soon. Well, very soon. It's in June is her due date. So yes, so that was that. Had a great time. And then my father was going to ride with us to Florida, and we were going to drop him off home. And then we were going to go on to Clearwater, which is about another 2 hours. So about a 9-hour trip. And so we did that. Everything went well there. No problems. We get there. My daughter's going to be in basically like 2 tournaments. And one of them was what they call a showcase, where you go there and there's colleges there and stuff. And we didn't really do it for her to go there to be showcased, but it was just the experience because she's young. She's one of the younger ones there. But it was great. She had an awesome time. But then the next day, there was a clinic with college coaches. And that's when it got crazy because it was windy. And if you've ever played beach volleyball or anything with a ball on a beach and it has high winds, not easy. No one's really ever played in this type of wind. It was between, I would say, 25 and 35 mile an hour wind, and it was consistent. So that was going on. That was crazy. Wasn't typical. Then the following day, same thing. Had another tournament, high winds. It was just crazy. People asked, so how did it go? I'm like, it was interesting. It wasn't real volleyball. It was just weird. Anyway, we leave there Monday. We're going to head back. We're going to make the full trip. And we get about 200 miles into our trip out of a 500-mile trip, 600 about. And it wanted to detour us to go on a back road to miss this accident or something that was congested up above. We don't even know what it was. It was going to save us about an hour. So I did that. And about, I would say, 5 to 10 miles into that dark back road, and I had my high beams on and I'm going, and I know deer. Like I come from, land of the deer, and I'm going back and forth, and boom, I spotted one, and I go, oh, deer. And then 2 seconds later comes another deer on my right and goes right into the car, hits the front, bounces off, hits the side, and I think he ran off, or I don't know what happened at that point. It's pitch black out on a country road. Pull over. I think my tire's flat. Out trying to see the damage with my phone. Everybody's okay. We didn't go off the road. I did what I've always said, you just drive through it. You just you can't stop. You can't swerve. You can't do any of that stuff. And I feel bad for the deer, but I had to just keep going. And yeah, so we hit a deer. Everything was okay. The car is pretty damaged. The one door is dented way in, the front headlight, the bumper. We got quite a bit of damage. We're still having the insurance adjusters and stuff. But we start heading back, and then we start hearing this whistling like your window's down. Well, it bent the door so bad on the one side that my wife's door was ajar. And well, it was locked, but you could hear the wind whistling. And we had to deal with that for about another 300 miles. So we got home safe. I was not happy. I was happy we were safe, but now I'm thinking we have to deal with the insurance, and we got to get the car fixed. We're going to be without our car. Can they get the parts? And I start going through all of this stuff. And I wrote an email about this because you start to, whenever something happens, you go through this negative time where you start thinking about all the negative, but then you have to start reversing it. And that's what I did. And everyone's safe, and we're here, and everything's fine. But things happen, and things can throw you off course. So yeah, so that's what happened. But then I was pleasantly surprised when I woke up Monday morning and I open up my laptop and I sit down, I get into it, and the numbers are up. The numbers are up. Our traffic was up on especially this newer site, which I was very happy. And that thing is just hockey sticking right now. So with that all being said, I know a little bit of a story there, but I wanted to share it with all of my coffee talk peeps, and share that with you guys. But yes, everyone is safe, and yes, we're back okay, and I'm here to do some more of these coffee talks. So yes, we did have a good weekend though. My daughter had a blast. She had a great time with her friends, and meeting some college coaches, gave her some different perspectives and stuff. So it was a great weekend, and I'm going to focus on that. It was a great weekend. All right, so let's get rocking and rolling. I got some stuff to share with you on this 97% increase in traffic, how it happened, where I think it's going, and what I'm going to double down on, and what is really working well. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to officially start this now. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. There we go. And you can see that right there. All right, so let me know if you guys can see that in the chat. I'm pretty sure you can. I'm going to go ahead and officially kick this off. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Brand podcast. I haven't said that in a long time. I don't know why. I kind of get out of the rhythm of doing it because a lot of these I'm doing live over on Facebook or YouTube doing the coffee talks. So I probably should start doing that as my intro. Yeah, maybe I should do. I should start thinking about that a little bit more. Well, anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me, for listening. And today I am going to share something with you that I am very excited about. And again, it proves that this thing actually works. It works. And what I mean is building these niche properties. They work, right? And the key that we have to always focus on, because this is what really drives it, and it really drives any business, to be honest with you, is traffic. If you can get traffic, if you can get eyeballs, things become exciting, they become easier, and that's really all that we have to focus on. Well, what I'm going to share with you today is on a site that is, and I'm using air quotes, somewhat of a newer site of ours, the one that we had probably started building consistently, probably the last 5 to 6 months, okay? And I'll give you the backstory on it here in a second, but the interesting thing is that it's starting to take off, okay? It's starting to really get some momentum, and we are up 97%, actually a touch more in the last 30 days. I'll give you the exact numbers. If you're not watching this, if you are not watching this on brandcreators.com, where we post these as well, and you're just listening to it, I will give you a visual, but I am sharing my screen right now. Whoever is watching, for whoever is watching this on our Facebook Live or on YouTube. All right. So again, if you want to watch this, you probably want to head over to the show notes, or you want to come to these live or watch those replays. All right. So the number that I'm looking at is 5,733 page views. Unique page views is 5,366. Average time on page, 3 minutes and 54 seconds, which is phenomenal, by the way. And when we look at average time on page, that really does tell us that people that are landing on our site are enjoying it and they're staying there. And there's one little tip here, one little ninja tip here I'm going to give to you guys. And if all you do is walk away with this one little nugget, use it, please. One of the reasons is we usually, not always, usually will embed a YouTube video. We'll embed someone else's video. It's there to share. It's adding value to that post. And what happens is if someone sits on that video and watches it on your website because it's embedded, it counts as time on site. There's a little ninja tip for you. Use it. All right. So 3 minutes 54, which is great. And what that also does is it tells Google, hey, someone that's landing here is really enjoying it. And that's the average time on page. So what they do is they're going, oh, people really like this content. We should probably rank them a little bit better. So that can help your ranking as well. All right. So over 5,000 people visited the site. That's phenomenal. All right. And if you look at the graph here, now, if you're not watching me do this, you can listen to me. In beginning, and it's not the beginning of December, because what I did, the time of that I'm actually doing this is on the 19th of January. If you're listening to this on the podcast, it's going to be a little behind. So that's, don't worry about that. But you're just going to understand that January 19th was the time that this was shot. So it's going to go back 30 days from there, which is around December 20th. All right. And on December 20th, the site was averaging about 150 page views. Okay. And if you look at the graph, it's now over 200 pretty consistently. And we've actually had a couple of 300 days. Okay. 333, I think, was the exact number at one point. But yeah, so yeah, it was about 366, I think. But the last 2 days after that number, which is the 16th and the 17th, was up over 250. I think it was like 260, 270. Okay. So Our average 30 days ago, okay, was 100 to or 120 to 150, let's say. But now the average is above 200. Okay. So do the math there. If we average only 200 per day, 30 days, 6,000, right? It's about what we're going. We're actually going better than that, though, which is really exciting. So this next shot that I want to share with you is going to give you the actual comparison. So inside of your Google Analytics, you can basically set the date range and then just do compare to the last 30. And it'll give you that. And that's exactly what we have here, right? So last month, or the last 30, I should say, was 2,898 page views. And now that same time span was 5,733, which is great. Also, the average time on page is up 17.32%. And the unique page views is 94.7%. All right. Now, this is all amazing. And you might be saying, well, Scott, how? Why? Why is this happening now? Well, I'm going to share some more screenshots here with you guys so you can kind of walk you through some of this. But here is the deal. And I'm going to give you the backstory on this site now. Okay. And then I'm going to tell you what we're going to be doing moving forward to kind of double down on this. All right. Now, this site, I have to look at the exact, but it is probably around 2 years old now. Okay. But it was not being posted on for over a year and a half. So the last 6 months, we've actively been pushing content. So in the very beginning, this site was really done for our Brand Creators Academy in one of our tutorials on showing people how to set up a site. It's really all it was for. It was like, here's how to take your name and buy a domain name over on GoDaddy. Here's how you add the hosting. Here's how you set up your theme. Here's how you put on a logo. Here's how you create your first post. Here's how to turn on your plugins. Like all of that stuff is what we teach inside of our academy. And we have trainings that go through all of that. So we created it for that purpose only, but always having it in the back of our mind, that is a niche that we might want to explore. Okay. It was a personal interest of our families. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe what we'll do is we'll kind of go in that direction when we'll just archive it, right? But what I found was this. We only posted 12 or 13 articles on that site in about a month and a half. And we did that in the very beginning. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just post 10 or 12 and then let it sit. So that way there we'll get relevancy, we'll get indexed, and we'll look back at it later and see if we want to continually build this thing out. So and I don't know the exact timing, but it was around 14 to 15 months in. And I go, I should probably go look at the analytics on that thing. And I did. And I was pleasantly surprised because it was over I think 2,500 page views. It's like 2,000 to 2,500 page views. I'm like, oh my gosh. And there's only 13 pieces of content on there. So then I started thinking of the power of seasoning a site. So a lot of people say, Scott, would you start multiple sites at once? Probably not in the beginning. And here's why. If you have the time and the energy and the resources to build out one of these niche properties, you should really double down and go all in on one, because more content on one site is going to help you and make it go quicker versus you posting 5 articles on one, 2 on another, and 1 on another one time per week. I'd rather take all of those and put them all on one and really, really flood the market and really do a content blitz. And that's what I would do. But if you're thinking about another one and you're kind of like, wow, but I really like to build one in this niche, then maybe what you do is you just buy the domain name, go through the whole process like you would to validate it, all that stuff. And then you just put it on your existing hosting, because you can do that. You can double up on your hosting, so you don't have to buy more hosting. And then just put a few articles on it. Put like 10 articles on it, and then let it sit and let it season. And then what happens is over time, it gets indexed and, it kind of sits there and it gets relevancy. And, it doesn't do much, but it gets relevancy and it's getting seasoned. So that way there, it's not just a brand new domain. It's not a brand new site. And that's what we did. But once I saw those numbers, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and start doing a content blitz here. And that's what we did. So like I said, we had about what I say, like 10 to 15-ish articles. I forget the exact number. I think it was 13, but I don't know for sure. I'd have to go back and look. And now we're up over 150. Okay. 150 pieces of content in the last 6 months. Okay. It's a lot of content and it cost us some money to do it. But again, I'm investing into this digital real estate, into this property. Okay. And so now that I'm looking at this and I'm looking at the numbers, it's even more exciting, right? Like a lot of people ask, like, Scott, how do you stay motivated if you're not seeing the numbers yet? Well, there's a few different ways you can do it, but this is what gets you motivated. There's not even any money being made yet, but we are so close to turning on an ad network. All right. And once we turn on an ad network, we'll start bringing in that money, but we're over 5,000. My goal, and I've said this before, I would probably even turn them on now, but I'm going to try to push this thing to 10,000. Then I'm going to turn it on, which I think we're going to get there in the next 30 to 45 days. I really do. So let me keep moving along here. Another screenshot. Now this is in Ahrefs. Okay. And the reason why I like looking at this, and again, if you don't have Ahrefs, you don't need it. I didn't have this up until about 6 months ago. I was using just Ubersuggest and Google, to find my keywords and stuff. But this is really cool to kind of look at your indexing. Okay. And you can also see some of this in your, I forget what they call it now, your search console. You can see a lot of this. But basically what this is telling me, and this is the last 30 days. So this is just the last 30 days. In the beginning of the month, we were only indexed. Now, indexing means that Google has put you in the top 100 somewhere, right? So if you wrote a piece of content, you have keywords, it will basically scrape your website and then it will start indexing you for keywords. Well, naturally, if you start getting more keywords indexed, more content, you start getting more indexing, it's also going to start increasing traffic potential. Okay. So if you are watching this or looking at this graph with me, you can see that the top of this graph, all right, where you see the orange thing going all the way up, we're like at 5,640 keywords, but in the beginning of the month, we are just over 3,800. It looks like it's just under 4,000. So we've added 2,000 more keywords that are indexed in 30 days. Okay. And then the other thing that if you look at it, you look at it's like a darker orange line, and then you see a lighter orange line. That's like your positioning. So it's like, these are keywords that are in the top 10. Okay. And on this number right here, I believe we're now ranking for, like, I think on page one, like 75 or 80, which is amazing. Okay. But everything is showing signs that it's continuing to increase. So I wanted to share that with you too, because that there can also give you motivation that if you start looking at your indexing, you're like, oh, I'm getting indexed, this is good. Then it starts giving you a little bit more, just a little bit more of motivation, or you're like, oh, this is working. So you feel better about it. Now this is in Ubersuggest. So if you look at this too, like, okay, so organic monthly traffic, 3,046. Again, that's why when we're looking at these numbers, they're typically low. I showed you the actual numbers in the analytics in Google Analytics, and it's reporting 5,700, 800, something like that. 3,046 here. So it's not there, right? It's not the same number. So when we are doing validation, we have to understand that this number is probably low. But the thing that I'm really looking at here is I'm looking at in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. It was pretty much flatlined, right? Like maybe 400 visitors, maybe. And then we started actively posting, I believe it was around May or June, and still not a huge bump, right? But here we are, right? So let's just say that we actively started posting in May. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. And we've always said, you got to give the content at least 6 months to see where it's going to land. And this is exactly what it's telling us. And then check this out, October, November, and then boom, December, it shoots right up. So November in Ubersuggest, it's saying like maybe 1,200. And then December, it goes all the way up over 3,000. Okay. And the same number is true if we go back to our Google Analytics. I'm sorry. Let's see. Yeah, I'm actually Ahrefs. I'm in Ahrefs. If we look at the 1 year view here, you can see here's May, a little bit of a blip when we started adding a little bit of a uplift. in May, June, and then July it dipped a little bit. It's dipping a little bit in September, and then boom, starts to take off. And this is all index keywords, and this is all traffic. So the bottom graph, if you're not looking at this, there's two different graphs. There's one that's showing the indexing for the keywords, and there's another one that's showing your organic traffic. And everything is going way, way up. So let's get back to like what we did here. Now, there's one thing that we did do here, which I still don't think that this was the reason why we are ranking so well right now and it's starting to take off. I think there's a combination of things. But this again goes for like why you have to just kind of follow the process. We have not ever done any backlinking campaigns. Okay. Now I'm not opposed to it, but we did test it. Okay. And I'm going to share that with you. There's two sites right now that we've been building as case studies inside of Brand Creators Academy. Neither one of those we have ever done any backlinking campaigns. Any backlinking that comes there has all been just natural, organic, people of other, news outlets or people that have a blogging, background that they're talking about maybe certain things in that niche. They link over to an article that becomes a backlink. That's how we've gotten all of our backlinks. So, okay, great. But then we said, you know what if we actually did a backlinking campaign? So that's what we did. So, but when you do a backlinking campaign, what that looks like is you're creating a very, very in-depth piece of content that will draw people to want to link to it. And then you basically go out and you do some outreach. So we actually did that. I hired a company to basically do some outreach for a piece of content and try to attract some links. And we probably got a handful of links. I have to look at the exact number. But those links don't give you immediate returns. It could take 6 months. It could take 8 months. It could take a year because all that's doing, that backlink, all that's doing is giving your site more authority. Okay. It's just giving you more authority. Now, can that affect your traffic spiking in 6 months from now? It could. It could take new content, make it rank faster. Yes. But also you got to keep in mind this site has been seasoned. It was sitting there dormant in a sense, but it was still there. It was being indexed. It was relevant. So that also has to do with it. All right. So again, I'm not sitting here telling you like this was just overnight. It wasn't. That is the process. So the only thing different here on this site than anything that we've done is that we basically had a site that we started and then paused it for about a year and a half. Then we aggressively started adding a whole bunch of content to it. And then we were doing in the background a slow backlinking campaign that basically created a solid piece of content that we reached out to people that are in our space and said, hey, we have a great piece of content. We've noticed that you've linked over to resources in the past. Here's our piece of content. If you think it's valuable, we'd love you to share it and basically let people know, your readers know about it. Like that's it. Like that's the backlinking strategy. It's not like you're going out and you're trying to get all of these spammy links from all of these, link farms and all of that stuff. Nothing like that at all. So could that have something to do with it? I would say probably not at this point. If we look ahead, maybe in the next 6 months, we'll see. It's also the reason why I'm doing it is because I wanted to test this on a site that's had no link building and one that I didn't want to also do any link building on any of the other sites because I wanted to keep them as clean as possible. And I also wanted to see what it would be with no link building. And that's how we're going to keep those for right now. I'm not saying I wouldn't do a link building campaign in the future. So again, if you are building from scratch, the advice is the same. Pick a good niche that you validated has a lot of traffic, right? And I say a lot of traffic, like you want it to get between 30 and 50,000 page views to make it worthwhile. But you also want to see that it could go higher than that in the future because there's other sites that have done it. So we want to validate that principle. We also want to make sure that there's content that's being created, question-based type content, and lots of it. And then we want to make sure that there's monetization happening through ad networks. Okay. Because I don't want to rely on affiliate revenue. I want to rely on an ad network in the very beginning. And that will be like the baseline income. And then anything we add will be bonus. And that's it. Like that is it. So it's find the niche, validate it, put on a theme that's fast, And then from there, start publishing content, do keyword research, publish content. And then what you do, one last step here, I almost forgot, is when you get to about the 6-month mark, that's when we're going to start looking at our analytics and see what content is ranking, but is not on page 1 that has potential to have really good traffic. Can we optimize that to get it to page 1? And actually, we just went through this in great detail inside of our brand new Niche Properties Insider, Volume 1, where we found a site that was being sold. It was making just over $1,500. And we went through all of the content, all of the traffic, and then we looked and at all of the ways to increase the revenue, increase the traffic, because that's what we want to do, right, with these sites. And the one thing that we identified was content that was already created that was on page 2 that could easily be optimized to get to page 1 and immediately have an increase in traffic. Again, I should probably mention that I haven't talked too much about it. If you're interested in going through that Niche Properties Insider, it's part of our Brand Creators Academy at this time. It's not a standalone, so you would have to become a member. If you're interested in becoming a Brand Creators Academy member, head on over to brandcreators.com/BCA. Again, that's brandcreators.com/BCA. And there is a full session there. It's about 2 hours long as far as us going through doing this teardown, looking at the site, how it's performing and how it can perform even better. And from there, learning, but also creating a 90-day blueprint on how we would grow it if we owned it. So that's inside there with a guide that will also kind of compress everything that we talked about and put it into a user's guide so you can actually go through it even if you didn't want to watch the full video. So that's inside of Brand Creators Academy, brand new, super excited about it. And we've already released Volume 1, and you can check that out inside there. All right. So guys, that is what I wanted to share with you here on this episode, because I think it's important for you to understand it. I think it's important for you to see that, yes, it takes time, but is it worth it? If you can get the traffic, everything else becomes easier, and it does not have to be hard. It is a simple business model. It is. It's the closest thing to a piece of real estate that I've seen. And it also doesn't require you to spend, 20 hours a week even working on it. Like I literally spend less than 3 hours a week managing about 5 to 6 sites right now. All right. And my job really is just, I enjoy it, is finding the keywords and then from there putting them into topics that we're going to be writing about and then handing them off to the writer. Like that's it. And looking at the analytics, love it. I love looking at that stuff and seeing how we can grow and build these to be even bigger and get more traffic. And the crazy thing is this, I've done quite a few of some coaching calls here this past month in January. And I got a couple that I'm going to be doing in February. I'm not sure if I'm going to open any more up. But again, if you're not on the email list, you wouldn't know about it. But if you are on the email list, you'll hear more about those if I'm going to do any more in February. But these things are great because it really does allow me to see that no matter where you are in your business journey, it does come down to that thing, traffic, right? I had some coaching calls that these guys and girls are building, still have their physical product brand. But they're like, I need more traffic. I want to get off of Amazon. I don't want to depend on Etsy. I don't want to depend on any of these other channels. I like the channel, but I don't want to depend on that channel. And it comes down to creating one of these niche properties to support your products. And if you can get more traffic, you can probably sell more product of your own. And you can add another channel of revenue if you want to turn on an ad network once you get the traffic. So it's just a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you want to do that? And if you go to sell it, it's going to sell for more because it's got more assets, it's got more channels, it's got more diversification, all of that. So if you're listening to this and you are selling physical products, you probably want to build one of these for your brand. You just should, right? Traffic is the answer. It really is. And well, I should back up, the right kind of traffic. Because if you just have just crap traffic, it's not going to convert into sales or it's not going to do well, right? You can have a high bounce rate. You'll have, average time on site will be like 10 seconds, and that won't be good either. So you want to make sure that you find the right angle for your products and then start teaching and talking about those questions and helping people around that product. All right. And I'll probably do a full episode on what we can do if you own a physical product brand and what you can do to create content that surrounds it. But it's not just about the product, it's about what the product does for that person or what they're trying to achieve. We'll talk more about that in another episode. So, guys, that's it. That's going to wrap it up. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning. And, well, if you're listening to this on the podcast, it could be, in the afternoon. Thank you for listening. But again, keep this thing simple. Okay. Do not overcomplicate it. And if you do that and you stay consistent, you've got a really good chance of creating something that will deliver traffic, that will turn into monetization, and potentially have something that you could sell in the future for a lot of money. All right, guys. So that's it. That's going to wrap it up. As always, take care, take action, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys. Cut. All right, guys. That is officially going to be that episode, but I am going to hang around for any questions. I did see some come through. What's up, Octavio, man? How are you doing in the new year? Let's see. Okay, Salama, what tool are you getting this data from? How often do you look at stats? I look at stats every morning with my coffee. Like, that's kind of what I do. I look at Ahrefs because I like to see the indexing. I like to see like how that's growing, if it's growing. And then I won't always go into the analytics as far as the Google Analytics, but I'll probably do that like once a week. But usually, and the other thing is if you're logging into your Mediavine, you can kind of see your sessions and things in there. So you don't have to go in there, but I do go into Mediavine. So I would say if I'm looking at the indexing because it's a fresh site or something, I'm going to look at that pretty frequently. I'm not going to say more than once a day though. If you're looking at your analytics more than once a day, you're spending too much time. You should be creating content or you should be doing keyword research. What do you look for to see if your posts are performing? Well, a lot of times what we want to do is we want to look at, and we did this actually in our Niche Properties Insider Volume 1. We basically went through, and actually Chris Schaefer created a very, very cool little tool. But you do need an Ahrefs account to use it. But what he basically created was a tool. It's basically it's a spreadsheet in Google Sheets, I think it is, or Google Docs, one of them. But basically it pulls the data of all of your keywords that you are ranking for, your position. And then what it does is it calculates what your traffic is currently and what your potential traffic is if you were on page 1. And so basically then what we can do is go, we're ranking number 12, which means page 2. And the traffic potential that we're missing out on is 2,500 visitors. So then what we do is we go, we should probably look at why that is underperforming and not getting on page 1. What can we do? So we're going to go over and look at the top 10, right? Who is there? And then we're going to see how can our content be better? Does it need to be longer? Does it have to have more backlinks going to it? We can look at things like that. And then we can make those improvements if we think that we have a chance. So that's it. You're looking at your older content at least 6 months. Now, again, this tool actually looks at only content. And I say it's a tool. He basically created this self-calculating doc, and then it pulls it in. We're going to probably share that inside of Brand Creators Academy, but we're still kind of working the bugs out, which we might just release it to a handful of people, let them test it. And then from there, we can go ahead and make any tweaks that we need to. But the thing is with this tool is we have to use Ahrefs to pull in that data. But if you don't have Ahrefs, the way to do it is you can just look at your, you can look inside of Ubersuggest and you can look at some of your positionings there. And then what you can do is go, I'm position number 15, but that keyword is getting 3,000 searches technically. And I'm on page 2. Naturally, if I get it to page 1, I'm going to get more of that. I don't know how much, but I'm going to get more of it. So that's kind of like an easier way to do it if you're just using Ubersuggest. Let's see. Does the growth of the niche site plateau after a certain number of articles? It can. You're gonna notice that you're gonna have plateaus regardless. You're gonna have seasonality. Even if you're not in a seasonal type niche, you're going to have seasonality. It's just going to happen. You're going to have dips and valleys. It's like the stock market, right? You're going to have, Google makes an update. You're going to have a little bit of a dip, maybe. Then you're going to see an acceleration because now you didn't get really impacted by that because everyone else did. And now you rose above that. So there's a lot of peaks and valleys. You have to ride that out, but you have to stay consistent. And what I mean by that is you have to look at your numbers after 6 months, and then you have to go, oh, it's really working well if I'm talking about bass fishing versus fly fishing. I think I'm gonna go after bass fishing more, do a content blitz, and then I'll come back and revisit it. So there's things that you want to look at if you're going through a plateau, but you also don't want to overreact because that's normal. It's part of it. Anyone that's been doing any type of like niche building or site building to get traffic over the years will tell you there's going to be peaks and valleys and all of that stuff. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Stay consistent. Kind of reaffirms that good content is king, right? Love it. Gets me excited to continue building traffic. Thank you. No problem, Octavio. Adam Smith is on. What's up, Adam? Adam is actually part of the niche website builders and a guy that we're working with, which is going to be coming back on the podcast very soon to kind of give an update on our case study that we're building with our expired domain. Which we're seeing very good signs on that. And we're going to talk about that. And I want his take. I want his thoughts on how it's going so far compared to other ones that have been started. So that's another reason why you want to come here and also subscribe to the podcast. Let's see. Ahrefs free version. I think they have a free version. I think you can see that. I'm going to have to investigate that because that would be useful. But I don't think that the free version will let you see keyword positioning and ranking and things. I think it'll show you some indexing though. Would it be worth doing an episode on Google Analytics? I don't know about a podcast episode or maybe a coffee talk, but the problem is I have to show it, right? So Octavio, that would be something that we'll do in BCA for sure. So maybe what we'll do is even wrap that into one of our, maybe one of our office hours calls, which I think would be a good one to do. But yeah, and I guess Octavio, what part of the Google Analytics would you like us to do? More like looking at optimizing content, which by the way, Octavio, if you have not yet watched the Niche Properties Insider Volume 1, there's a good part there where we go through the existing content, where it's landed, and how to choose what to optimize. That part right there alone is going to help you. I know that for a fact. We also have a guide coming out inside BCA, should be released by the end of the week. It came out phenomenal. So I'm just waiting. We have to go through it one more time, but it's really good. And that will also kind of compress everything that we talked about in that 2-hour session. So you don't have to watch the full 2-hour session if you don't want to. Let's see. What are the max number of articles you are aiming for per site? There is no limit. If it's still producing traffic and if it's still making money, I'm going to keep feeding it. So there's no max per site. I want thousands eventually. Unless I get it to a point where I'm like, it just makes sense right now to sell this thing, then I would do that. But no, I would say there's no limit, right? Like it's just, you keep adding content. It does come to a point though that you're like, okay, I'm creating this content. I haven't turned on ads yet. What is my threshold there? Like, what is my limit on that? And then maybe you're going to season it. And maybe then you're going to wait until you make a certain number of money. And then the site will kind of pay for itself as you're building it to increase the traffic. Karen, okay. Yeah. I'd love to learn more about Google Analytics too, but what about it? Right. So I just need a little bit more of a direction there, Karen, and we'll definitely do that for you. Need to watch that. Yes, sir. I was thinking targeting blogs to optimize and just getting to know the tool better. Okay. Yeah. So, targeting blogs to optimize. Well, yeah, if you're going to look at any of your competitors, it's always good to kind of keep an eye on them and kind of learn from them. But inside of your Google Analytics, that's more of your own data more than someone else's, unless we're using Ahrefs. And then what we would do in Ahrefs is we would look at, your site or someone else's site and see what pages are ranking and all of that stuff and what keywords they're ranking for. Okay. And Karen says all of it, understanding what to look at. and 4. Yeah, I mean, I can do a brief one on everything and kind of what we're looking at, but for the most part on the analytics, we're just looking at content that's doing well, and where it's landing, our top 10, top, 20, top 30, learning from that. But then also we want to just keep an eye on our, watch time, and we want to keep an eye on things like that. There's not too much that we need to worry about in the Google Analytics other than are we having growth, right? Are we having growth? Are we having a dip? Why are we having a dip? Ahrefs would be something that would be, and I'm not saying get Ahrefs, which Karen, I mean, we can take your site, we can take anyone's site that's in BCA on one of our upcoming calls, and we can bring it into our own Ahrefs account and we can do a deep analysis. So we could totally do that too. Oh, okay. So Karen says to do a video of what you look at daily. Yeah, cool. That's not a problem. That's very easy to do. And we can definitely do that, Karen. So, hey, I appreciate you giving me your thoughts on that, because that does help us inside of BCA of what you guys need. So appreciate that. And I'm glad to see you on. All right, so guys, that's it. We went a little longer today because, well, you guys had some questions. I love questions. What should we talk about on Friday's jam session? You never helped me out there. Is it Google Analytics? I guess we could talk about Google Analytics and what to look for. But if you have anything you want me to discuss on our Friday jam session, or even future ones, if you're watching this after the fact, let me know. The other thing is, if you are not yet on my email list, the only way to get on that at this time is to head on over to takeactioncrew.com. Again, that's takeactioncrew.com. I usually send out around 3 emails per week, and usually they are with tips, advice, or something that happened in my life that would hopefully teach you a lesson, like hitting a deer and staying positive and not overreacting and dealing with that, but also turning that into a life lesson. So if you're interested in hearing some of my thoughts where I can help you on a regular basis, jump on that email list, takeactioncrew.com, takeactioncrew.com. Guys, have an awesome, amazing day. If you're watching this and you are a BCA member, keep your eyes out. We do have the basically our Niche Properties Insider Volume 1, the newsletter, the video newsletter, the teardown, the guide, everything that is included. We're going to be pushing out that guide here in the next couple of days. So keep an eye inside of the Facebook group and also on your inbox, because I'll be sending it there. It's around 27 pages, which is pretty awesome. And it came out awesome. So I can't wait to share it with you guys. All right. And if you're not part of BCA, one last little self-plug, head on over to brandcreators.com/BCA and let us know that you would like to join, and we'll send you over the details. All right. Take care. Take action. Have an awesome, amazing day. Stay warm if you're in a cold climate. I know it's cold here in South Carolina, so stay warm. If it's warm and sunny, well, enjoy that. Take care, guys. Have an awesome day.